First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Subhas Bhattacharjee for inviting me to this program. And I would like to thank Professor Sharma and NetPro for giving me this opportunity to discuss with you on role of food processing in alleviating hunger. As Professor Sharma mentioned, hunger means not just eating food. It is like empowering people, empowering women, providing balanced nutrition. So with my expertise or background in food processing, I see we can play a food processor or a food scientist can actually play a very good role in actually making more food available, more balanced, nutritious food available. And not only that, also providing good employment opportunities for rural women and youth so that we can achieve the goals. If you look at the world hunger today, I'm sure you are all familiar with this. I just wanted to kind of reiterate that more than 690 million people live in chronic hunger, where the food industry, food processing sector, as a food scientist, food technologist, we can play a role. And 60% of people living in hunger are women. So it is not only not able to get food. So if you empower them so that they can afford food and they can get food, again, food processing can play a role. And 98% people are suffering from undernourishment in especially low and middle income countries, even though India is doing so well, but still we have very high instance of malnutrition or undernutrition. And it's like that we have certain issues, access issues to healthcare. Again, healthcare can be, of course, you have to provide a healthcare, but also if you can actually produce a healthy food through food processing or through value addition to fruits and vegetables and through food processing, we can actually reduce the burden on managing these diseases, especially diet-related degenerative diseases. So we can play a role as a food technologist in this. So this is what I just wanted to show, how we can, as a food processing or a food processor or a food technologist, food scientist, can make a impact on alleviating hunger by reducing commodity wastage, so that reducing the chronic hunger, making more food available, increasing value addition, creating employment, women empowerment, rural and youth, rural women and youth empowerment is something we can do it through food processing and maintain or improve the nutritional value so that that can prevent malnutrition or undernutrition or reduce birth defects, especially with the folic acid deficiency or iron deficiency or B12 deficiency, and also improve the health status. So that is what I would like to take you for the next 20 minutes on how we can play a role. So this slide shows how the situation in India. Professor Sharma has already discussed this particular situation. I don't want to spend much time on that. I just would like to take this opportunity to introduce solar food processing, which can be done at a rural level or a semi-urban level by adding value to the fruits and vegetables, which are otherwise we are losing almost 20 to 30% we are losing due to lack of processing. So you can use this innovative solar food processing technology at the rural level, add value, make more micronutrients available, and provide employment generation in a sustainable way. Another technology I would like to discuss here is the extrusion processing. In fact, actually, in the last 3 days, we are in the process of conducting an extrusion workshop. So this is an ideal time for me to discuss this at this program also. So this is a very versatile technology that can actually provide a lot of nutrition products, health foods, as well as making more food available and adding value to the byproducts is something we can do. And also because I've worked very closely on soybean processing for the last 25 years, I have a lot of attachment to soy, and I see soy can play a very, very important role in improving the nutritional status. And also there are certain soy-based projects, especially like soy milk tofu, can actually help us in as a empowerment or a employment opportunity to rural women and youth so that their income generation or income enhancement can happen, so that can actually alleviate the hunger. So why solar drying? Because it extends storage life, it minimizes the nutrients loss, it adds value to the fruits and vegetables, it reduces the loss of fruits and vegetables. otherwise wasted because of low shelf life, and it reduces spoilage, and it reduces transportation losses, and it is environmentally safe, and most of it provides rural employment to women and youth. And there are so many solar processed foods, especially using fruits and vegetables, whether you do in the form of fruit bars or dehydrated fruits and vegetables, non-timber forest produce, especially in the northeastern area, where the non-timber forest produce can be actually added value through this processing technology, and its value can be increased and income enhancement can be done to the population in the northeast, or also otherwise in the tribal areas or in the forest areas. And another one of the focus areas we can actually do with solar food processing is micronutrient enrichment of supplements. As Professor Sharma mentioned, we have very high instance of micronutrient malnutrition, and you may be aware that fruits and vegetables are the most important and valuable source for vitamins and minerals, which otherwise we are losing due to post-harvest losses. So we can actually process these fruits and vegetables, and in this solar dehydration technology or solar cabinet dryer, and we can make nutritional supplements, whether it is child nutrition supplements or a geriatric nutrition supplement or a supplement for pregnant women and lactating mothers, or general health supplements can be made where we can meet the nutritional requirement of the target population, and also this can be a very good income generation for the rural women and youth. And also, as Professor Sharma mentioned, that we have midday meal programs where these supplements can be easily adopted or introduced, and also in the ICDS programs where pregnant women, lactating mothers can be benefited by these supplements. Similarly, lot of plant-based products as well as the non-timber forest produce have a lot of health promoting attributes, whether it is managing diabetes or cholesterol lowering effects, or maybe with high antioxidant content in fruits and vegetables can actually fight cancer. And also in the current situation, in the pandemic situation, immunity is a very, very big aspect, and people are actually looking at immunity boosting products, and a lot of fruits and vegetables can be used and can be designed to make products which are like immunity boosting products. And one good thing about this is these are all things can be done by the rural women at the farm level, or this can be an excellent opportunities for farmer producer organizations, rural women and youth to process locally produced fruits and vegetables to get key nutrients, which can be marketed as value added products, and you can actually get very high income, and it can make an impact on the food value chain by making more food available and processing them at the farm level with the vulnerable segment of population. So we are actually not only providing more food, we are actually empowering them to have access more food to them, and using and adding value to the otherwise getting spoiled fruits and vegetables. And the enrichment of Q nutrients, which are bioavailable to the at-risk population at the affordable prices, is another important aspect. And this can impact the goals related to human health and nutrition, and also alleviating the hunger and freedom from the community at farm level. So these are all things we can actually do a holistic approach with this particular technology, solar food processing technology. It's a very simple technology. We can actually have different regional processing facilities based on the these fruits and vegetables or the non-timber forest produce wherever it is available, process them, and then bring them to a mother industry, whether they can be these women, rural women, youth, or the tribal population. They can actually either do a retail marketing, or with Niramac, which has a strong presence in Northeast, they can maybe use that service and go to retail markets, go to B2B, business to business food industry, to the Anganwadi centers, the ICDS program, midday meals programs, or the hospitals, especially with immunity boosting attributes. So this is a very, very holistic technology where we can have enhance the rural income sustainable solution, and value addition to fruits and vegetables, reduction of food losses, and rural employment generation. These are all things can be achieved by this particular food processing. Next one I would like to discuss quickly is the extrusion process. This is one of the most versatile food processing technologies, which can handle number of ingredients, diversified products with low water usage, low effluent generation, and it can be a very compact facility, and then it can give a very consistent product. So we can make number of products that can make an impact on our nutrition. As we were discussing, Professor Sharma also mentioned that even though India is the big lentil producer as well as consuming country, we produce 25% of the world lentils and consume more than 27%, but we only have about and we import about 14%. So here we can use this technology and make a healthy and economic alternate to lentils, which are nutritionally a lot more superior to lentils, which will have 30% more protein than lentils, which is almost 50% the cost of lentils, and which can be easily cooked and made using locally available raw materials. This can be a healthy and economic alternate, which can be find opportunities, various feeding programs, and in the open market and even the export markets. And so this can actually give more food. This technology can help us making more food available through this particular lentil analog route, because we are producing a product which is otherwise a low yielding crop and making. Hello. Sorry, we lost the power and lost the connection. So I am using my mobile net, and I'll continue the presentation. Sorry about that. So can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes, okay. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I will put my.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Please.
What I'm trying to mention here, we can actually use this technology and produce lentil analog, which is we are replacing a product which is from a low yielding product. That means you need more land to produce the traditional lentil, whereas we can produce from the same amount of land, we can produce more lentils through this technology. So this is one way of achieving food security through using food technology. And another is reconstituted rice, which is again an excellent source of adding value to byproducts like rice industry byproducts like broken rice. And in the process of converting them into regular rice, the broken rice into regular rice, you can actually improve the nutritional composition in the form of increasing protein content, vitamins and minerals, etc., and fiber content. And also it will reduce the glycemic index. And actually by this technology, you can add value to broken rice and actually design a grain in such a way that it can meet the requirement of different segment of population. This is a very, very excellent opportunity for the diabetic population, because India is a capital of for diabetics, and we have currently more than 75 million diabetics, which is rapidly increasing. This is more so in the rice eating population. So here we can adopt this technology to make a low glycemic, high protein rice using broken rice and soy protein. In that same process, we can actually fortify with those vitamins and minerals like zinc, iron, and vitamin A, which can boost, which can help the diabetic population to manage their blood sugar levels. And also this can give us an opportunity to protein fortification. And with this protein, diabetics who are prone to get heart diseases and kidney problems can actually benefited by this soy protein and making more food. And it doesn't cost a lot, because we are using a low value byproduct like a rice, broken rice, to make a very high value product. This is another product which is of great opportunity in India. Similarly, the same technology can be used to make something like a fortified rice kernel, which is like Government of India is working very, very actively on this. And Government of India wants to fortify almost 40 million tons of rice that go into public distribution system. at 1% level with this particular concept of fortified rice kernel at 1%, so that the people who are at risk, especially with malnutrition, can be benefited by getting enough amount of vitamins like iron, folic acid, and B12, so that their efficiency can improve, their disease fighting power can be improved, and the rural and the pregnant and pregnant women can actually reduce the birth defect. So these are some of the benefits of the fortified rice kernel, which is produced using the extrusion technology. Similarly, there is a lot of interest in millets in the consumers today, not only India, in the global markets, and next year is being considered as a world millet year. And in India, we consume a lot of millets, and which are considered to be very healthy and nutritious. So here we can use this technology to add more value to millets, maybe make them like rich in fiber, low in glycemic index, and high in antioxidants. And we can make rice analogs from the millets, and you can make other value-added products like millet rice, millet pasta, millet ready-to-cook or instant foods like upma, soup, porridge, etc., snack foods, and breakfast cereals. Like that, we can actually make a very high-value products from these millets, so that we can actually meet the requirements of the consumers and also requirement of the at-risk population, and can give as an opportunity to make more food available, and also as a kind of income generation or increasing the income levels. And finally, I would like to discuss few soy-based projects which can be beneficial for the rural women and youth, who can process these products like soy milk and tofu, which are economic and healthy alternate to milk, which can be processed at a cottage level and can be produced as a non-dairy products. There is a lot of opportunity for this product, because even though India is the world's largest milk producing country, we still have a certain gap in the availability. So, and also you are must be aware that we have a very high amount of protein deficiency. So these products can bridge the gap, and this give an opportunity for the rural women and youth to actually as an employment opportunity, so that they can produce healthy product and also enhance income. Similarly, another product is soy nuts, which can be processed at a cottage scale. Very, very simple process, can be a healthy and economic alternate to traditional nuts. And this can be made available to the ICDS programs or Anganwadi centers or midday meal programs, because these are very, very economical compared to egg and other products. So this can be a good employment opportunity and also provide good nutrition to the at-risk population. Finally, in the Northeast, there is a lot of interest in the fermented soy foods, and there is a lot of interest in that, and currently we see a lot of interest in the commercial production, so they can adapt. So far it has been more like at a home scale or a cottage scale, but the unemployed youth or women in the Northeast area can actually adopt this as a commercial process. We will be very glad to help you. Mr. Bhattacharjee can support or help us in connecting with us, so that we can help you in commercially producing these products. They can be commercially or economically make them viable, which has a good market in the Northeast. So this can give a good opportunity to the rural women and youth. Other products from soy are textured soy protein products, especially the meat alternates, which are very, very economic protein sources made from soy using the extrusion technology. So this can be one of the ways to reduce the environment burden, because the plant proteins need less amount of resources like land and water, and which they can be converted as a protein, an alternate to meat protein, so that you can actually reduce the burden and we can meet the protein requirement, which is going to be 70% more by another 30 years. So this is environmentally friendly and making more food available. And similarly, the solar food processing technology can indirectly improve the environment through reducing the carbon emissions, pollution levels, and give an employment opportunity to the rural women and reduces the burden on the environment. So this is what briefly I would like to discuss, how a food processing technology, food technology can actually help rural women and youth to not only produce and have healthy products or nutritious products, at the same time, it can be adopted as an income generation and income enhancement opportunity to improve their livelihood so that we can fight the hunger. With that, I would like to thank you all for your patient hearing. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir, for the presentation. It was so informative. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing with us all the how we can add value to different products, which helps in a different section of population. Now, sir, we have some queries in the chat box. So I would like to tell it, sir. Can you please take this query, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, sir, a question from A. Nagarjuna, sir. So, sir, the question is whether the Gulf residential schools, tribal and forest school colleges and universities are providing nutritious food to the hostel students. Any suggestion for better quality health of future generation?
Yeah, actually, government is working very actively on producing through the midday meal program. The government is feeding almost 100 million children, 10 crore children every year, especially during the school days, providing them with at least one meal of nutritious balanced meal with about 12 to 15 gram of protein. That is almost like maybe around 20% of the recommended daily allowance with other calories. So government is working in a very actively way, and this is the world's largest feeding program you will see anywhere in the world. I am sure there are so many countries which are less than 100 million. And so this is one activity government of India has been doing. And if you see the last year, government has increased the allocation for this particular program, both MDM program and ICDS program significantly. There is more than 10% increase in the allocation for budget allocation to this. And here, even though the government is increasing the allocation, but still meeting that requirement of protein and calories with that price is little challenging. And that is where from our organization, and we also have a Soy Food Promotion Welfare Association, we are actually talking to these feeding program implementing agencies on how they can increase their protein levels by using some of these products which I discussed, like lentil and logs or textured soy protein, and the products like soy nuts. We recently introduced soy nuts as an economic alternate to eggs. Eggs are becoming very expensive, which is like 5 rupees per egg minimum price, gave about 6 grams of protein. Same amount of protein can be provided through soy nuts, which are long shelf life products with about 100, maybe 1 rupee 25 paisa. You can give the same amount of protein, and this product can be kept for room temperature for a long time. So like that, we can adapt, we can identify a lot of new opportunities and economic opportunities to meet the requirement of this feeding program implementing agencies and to the beneficiaries in these feeding programs. Over.
Sir, one more question is there from the same person, that India is now self-sufficient in food and milk production. Where we went wrong in providing sufficient food to the needy in spite of various social security schemes. Whether we have to redesign our policy for the betterment of physical and mental health of the citizen.
Yes, India is the world's largest milk producing country. We almost produce 200 million metric tons of milk, which is one of the most. But we have very low processing, and wastage is also there. It is not just the milk. Even if you look at the per capita availability, is there about 250 ml up to 280 ml is there. But it needs a little more processing. If you look at our processing, we have less than 10% processing. Not even 10, maybe around 4-5% processing. So that is where we need to look at. I don't really focus more on a social security schemes because we want to make people empowered. Maybe help them in starting the industry, make them become sustainable on their own. Social security schemes are there, but they will only a short-term measure. but if you make them empowered, so they can actually make their own living and actually provide more employment to that. And in this case, food processing will play a very, very important role in not only in milk, also you look at fruits and vegetable. India is the second most, it's the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables. Unfortunately, we are losing about 20 to 25% of fruits and vegetables are lost due to lack of processing. So the micronutrient deficiencies can be easily managed if you process them and then make these nutrients available, the food available, and also give employment opportunities. So this is something, of course, I am not so big to guide government of India on how it should be doing, but this is what, as a food technologist, these are my few suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So one more query is there.
Yeah.
So how to set up a soybean processing industry in Northeast region? Are there any financial aid from government if someone wants to set up one industry?
Yeah. Yes, Northeast has a lot of support, more than me. Mr. Bhattacharjee and NetPro people are from the USTM. People team can actually suggest you what are the schemes available in Northeast. Definitely good schemes are available in Northeast, and setting up of soybean processing industry is not a big challenge at all. And you can get in touch with me through Mr. Bhattacharjee, and we can help you. As I mentioned earlier, there are so many opportunities, whether you, based on your income level, whether you want to start a small cottage level, maybe making something like soy milk, tofu, or soy nuts, or you want to do a commercial fermented soy products like akuni or something on a commercial scale you want to produce, or you want to look at an extrusion process. See, Northeast is, in the Northeast, we have a lot of demand for textured soy protein. Otherwise, we call it as meal maker or neutral or nuggets or granules. So that has a good opportunity, which is growing significantly. If any one of you are interested, please feel free to contact us. We can provide you the basic project report, and NetPro or Niramac or people like Mr. Bhattacharjee can help in accessing the government support in the Northeast. So this can be easily done. I think we can get at least 30 to 50% subsidy on some of these projects from government of India. Maybe Mr. Bhattacharjee can add more onto that.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh. And I just add on whatever, the gentleman who has put the question. We have the technology part available, Dr. Suresh has already told. Coming to the part of how to get the scheme support and all that, Ministry of Food Processing Industries has got n number of schemes nowadays. Nowadays, it is not very tough to obtain a funding to see a unit is live. So that way we can do it, number one. Number two, Atmanirbhar Bharat schemes are already there for ODOP and all that. Of course, there you need the product to be grown in that area. But what I understand is that what you want is the support scheme to support this sort of industries to come forward in the Northeast. In this context, just now Dr. Itapu was talking about the rice analogs. So we have a lot of broken rice in Assam and also in the Northeast. Probably they are not getting good value instead of taking it in a home use regularly. But probably with this technology and all that, we can make the broken rice into elongated rice, and rice analog can work out very well to get a nutrition added programs. So this is one thing you can do. And for that matter, my number is already there with all of you. Otherwise, I'm just sharing with you. We can be able to support you with the context of the schemes and how best the technology part also can be supported in soya and other nutrition development from the association of Dr. Itapu. Thank you, friends. I'm just sharing my contact number also. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any suggestion for lactating mother suffering from malnutrition?
Yes, this is a big challenge in India, because pregnant women and the lactating mother, their nutritional requirements are different. They need more protein. Their requirement of vitamin minerals is also high, like iron, something like that. So here, as Professor Sharma was mentioning, balanced nutrition plays a very, very important role. And if you see, like what I discussed just now, whether it is soybean or extrusion products like lentil and logs or rice or anything like that. And soybean is a very, very good source of protein that can be used as a protein source. And our new fruits and vegetables are excellent source of vitamins and minerals. So you can actually make use of, especially the leafy vegetables will have good amount of iron, and other fruits and vegetables will be good source of folic acid, like other cereals, legumes are good source of folic acid. So we can actually combine these things. And as I mentioned in the presentation on the solar food processing, this is what I was referring to, the making nutritional supplements, especially for this particular segment of population. We can actually design supplements for this particular segment of population based on their nutritional profile. If they want a little more protein, maybe use soy in that, maybe add tomato powder or spinach powder or moringa. Nowadays, there is a lot of interest in moringa powder. And Northeast is a very, very good source for various crops which are which have a lot of vitamin, minerals, and bioactive components, especially for lactating mothers. They should be able to produce milk also to feed the baby. So we can, in all these things, we can actually design a product specifically for this segment of population using fruits, vegetables, and products like soy. And balanced nutrition is the key to this segment of population to alleviate the malnutrition. Again, as Professor Sharma mentioned, it is not just providing the nutrition, it is making them more empowering. So if we can give them more employment opportunities, they can afford this nutrition. So that way we can actually overcome the issues of hunger or malnutrition in not only in this segment, any segment of population. Over.